Okay, Roger, Mudfossil University again today, doing a little more on the Sphinx, discovered in the heartland of the USA. We call it the Heartland Sphinx. Now, Dan Francos and I have been working on this morning, and I decided, well, we got another, what looks to me like a smoking gun. I'm going to go over, you see what you think, but I'm seeing details that I find very difficult to think that somebody would even have thought of to put in here, because they're subtle little nuances that well, I'll show them to you. You see what you think of them. Okay, so I'm looking over this one today from Dan, and I notice, I look for patterns and I look for things that tip me off to the fact that there's separations between places where they should be separated, deep inside, underneath, and I could see a few spots like that. And I look for patterns, and I look for anatomical structures. Now, what I want you to look for is right along the creature's body. You're going to see what I believe is the ribs and so forth. I looked at my dog today. It looks like just like the same thing. Now, here it comes. Now, I want you to look in this area here. Let me see. I'm going to open this up. It's kind of grainy, obviously. He's going to do a better job of getting some better, shots of this. He was out there. It was dark, and anyway, here goes. Now, you see this? Boom, 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 boom. Those are like rib bones, or there's a structure there. Now, why would a guy carve that into there? I mean, I guess he might, but there's just too many. I mean, it's like, I don't know, a scaly, or those are the rib structures. I just don't know. We need to get some microscopic shots of the texture of the surface, because that will tip us off. There's certain textures, and even like there's spots I'm seeing where I can tell. There's like this one right here. I'm almost sure there's blood coming out of there. And that might be a blood spot, and that might be a blood spot that has pushed itself out over the course of time. And that might be one too. This is where the moss and lichen collect on where blood flows out. All right, and then he comes down here now. In between the paw, I think there's a little tiny crack that goes up inside, and which they would never be able to carve. All right, oops, it's right over there now. Let's see if I can find it. All right, you see that? That's in between his two fingers of the paws, and then you can actually see. This is from where the toenails came out, or claws, or whatever the hell they were. Now here it goes. And you see that? That is right in between. Now, to me, these are smoke and gun features. These are things that I look for that nobody's, people don't look for these kind of things. Oh, it looks nice. Well, there's little tiny details that can make enormous differences. And that's, to me, that's a smoker right there. Now, and I think this is the back. That's the back paw. The front one also, and the front ones are very good. This is the tail. And you see, whoops. See that? See this little wrinkly looking stuff? I don't think anybody would think to put that in there, but I'm going to tell you right now, that is exactly what happens to the coat of an animal when it sort of squats down like that. And even this goose head has the same sort of texture. You see this? Whoops. I'm going to fix this light. It doesn't stay up. You see that floppy looking texture? That's the bottom of a goose's head, and I can guarantee you that is a goose's head. And that's the feather pattern up at the top. You should be able to see the feathers up there. And that's a goose head, and that's his beak. He was dead lying on this way. I've shown this a few times recently, and that's how he died, just like that. And that's this floppy stuff. You would never think to carve that into that stone. Well, I wouldn't have thought to unless I knew what I was doing, which I do now. I didn't know then what I do know now. It'd be a good song. Okay, now it has a very strange head for a sphinx. I mean, the other one has a very strange head for a sphinx too. That's all I can say is it's there. And he's doing a great job at this under tough conditions. I guess he was attacked by more mosquitoes than you would want to be, and so he had a hard time trying to hold still. He was telling me. Now he thinks this is snakes. I don't know. You know, we got to do a lot more out there. He's working on it. He's got intentions of going back and doing, you know, getting this. Try to figure out what the heck is going on here, because this is very, very interesting to me. I'm telling you, I see no reason to say this thing was not alive. 100% in my opinion at this point. I would go with the living rather than it was just faked. This sure looks good to me. So stay tuned. Okay, this is from the first video, from Dan's first report on what he had found out there. And this shows the fingernails or the toenails or claws or whatever they are. And I go through this and you can see the cracks up inside. It's just, it's not, go back to this video and look through this video first. This is part one. This is called the Sphinx with claws intact, discovered in the USA Heartland. And this one I'm doing now will be called the update. So that's what we have to show you, and Dan's going to be doing more on it. I'm sure he's excited about it, and rightfully so. Very, very interesting discovery. And we need to, hopefully he's going to get a little microscope, and Tyson's apparently got a microscope on order. We're going to start looking at the tissues that are involved in these things, because once you see the tissues, I can fully, at that point, the case becomes closed. We can see what these tissues and what these fibers are made of, and it's fascia, and it's pleura, and it's skin, and it's all kind of different cellular structures that are fabrics, literally fabrics. And when we see these, we will know what they are. Okay, now you will say to me, well, Roger, why do you feel qualified to speak about things in this nature? And I say, well, because I am the world's leading expert. And I say that in all humility. Now, it's just a fact. So that's all. You can dispute it if you want, and I'll gladly debate you, my friends. Now, this is 4 years ago. This was completed, and it took quite some time to get this done. And there was 3 samples sent. 2 of them were giants. One was over 200 feet. One was about 50 feet or so. And these are parts that disassociate from the whole. And they were CAT scanned, they were anatomist verified, they were DNA certified. And this was done with extreme sterile conditions and drilled deeply into arterial networks, because I understand where those arterial blood networks are, and that's what I did, is extract it from there. So don't tell me it was just some silly thing scrubbed off the surface of some rock. It had nothing to do with that. Now, we use the bacterial gene clean kits and all this stuff, and it comes down here. So I am the world's leading expert. I have the best positive specimens in the world. And I would debate anyone on this. And this is why I feel highly qualified to make the statements that I make. So, and this was a certified test. This was done 4 years ago, and by a qualified lab, and the database showed that they were human, and they're giants. And this is quite some time ago. And this was what Yale said I would have to have done before they could think that I had anything of any substance, and then they turn their backs. So, you are the people that are going to have to make your own decisions.